Tonight, Canadian military members trained to protect this country, now among those accused of plotting against it. A stockpile of weapons and explosives seized. An alleged plan to form a militia and seize land.
That's the single largest cache of weapons and components in any terrorism incident in Canadian history.
What we've uncovered about the men now charged, and the growing concern the military may be attracting and arming extremists. 2 student pilots killed when their planes collided midair.
It's tough, difficult, we're devastated.
What we know about the moments before the crash, and the grueling search for the missing in Texas.
It's extremely treacherous, time-consuming, it's dirty work.
CBC News is in the flood disaster zone speaking with survivors.
Cop saved my life, really. No way I would have made it out of here.
From CBC News, this is The National with Christine Birak.
Thanks for joining us. Adrian is away. We are learning more tonight about 4 men now accused by the RCMP of plotting to create an anti-government militia and forcibly take over land in Quebec. 2 of them are active members of the Canadian Armed Forces. Police are revealing details of their long investigation, including seizures of weapons and equipment, as 3 of the accused are charged with facilitating a terrorist activity. Jayla Bernstein walks us through the police revelations and what we're learning about the men at the center of these allegations.
2 active members of the Canadian military, part of a group now accused of violent extremism.
This is the first time in my recollection that we've seen any terrorism charges against active duty members of the military.
The allegations involve 4 men in total. 3 from the Quebec City area face charges that carry a maximum 14-year sentence.
They appeared for facilitating a terrorist activity that would have occurred between June of 2021 and January of 2024 for acts that would have occurred in Quebec and in Ontario.
They are 24-year-old Marc-Aurèle Chabot, a current serving military member, 24-year-old Simon Anger-Audet, and 25-year-old Raphaël Lagacé, who posted these photos on Facebook showing him posing with guns and sporting military-style gear. The 4th arrested, 33-year-old Matthew Forbes, also currently in the military. He is now facing multiple charges, including possession of firearms and explosives. Investigators say they seized this weapons cache in the Quebec City area last year. It includes dozens of firearms and accessories, thousands of rounds of ammunition, and night vision goggles.
That's the single largest cache of weapons and components in any terrorism incident in Canadian history.
Police allege one of the accused created this Instagram account to recruit anti-government militia members, and that group took part in military-style training, shooting, and survival exercises. Police say they believe there was a plot to take land by force in the Quebec City area.
Quite often, if that kind of ideology, what they're looking for is to create a new society, create a society based on the values that they respect.
Police say public security was their top priority as they investigated the plot for the last 2 years. The Canadian Armed Forces say they take these allegations very seriously and that they're fully supporting the investigation.
Jayla, I understand more information has come out about the suspects. What can you tell us?
Well, not only were 2 of the suspects active members of the Armed Forces, but the Armed Forces has told us one was a former member and then a 4th was actually a former civilian instructor with the Air Cadets. We also today spoke with a former colleague of Marc-Aurèle Chabot who told us about concerning remarks he made in regards to Justin Trudeau, the colleague saying they were almost treasonous. Now, none of these allegations have been proven in court.
Thanks, Jayla. Jayla Bernstein in Montreal. Extremism within the Canadian Armed Forces is an ongoing issue, not a new development. As Evan Dyer reports, there is growing demand for more robust action to deal with it.
I would like to say that I'm surprised, but I'm not.
Professor Andy Knight says his own interviews with radicalized Canadian soldiers and ex-soldiers done at the military's request convinced him there was a problem.
There were some individuals that joined the military to learn the skills, One individual said that he joined the military to learn how to kill brown and black people.
Military service gives soldiers like these Vandu's infantry training in military weapons and tactics. For an extremist, there can also be opportunities to steal equipment hard to get elsewhere. The accused in the Quebec plot had a significant amount of military kit.
So you have the arms, now you have the training. There are explicit attempts to recruit people with military experience, whether they're former or whether they're active.
Police say the four men were seeking to create an anti-government militia and aim to seize and hold a parcel of land.
So is that the first stages of creating, this white ethno-state that so many far-right actors and accelerationists, for example, are interested in?
If the allegations are proven, this wouldn't be the first time a former or active Canadian soldier has been caught up in extremism, most notoriously Patrick Matthews of the neo-Nazi group The Base. He fled Canada in 2019 before being arrested by the FBI in Delaware and sent to a high-security federal prison. A 2022 report found rising extremism in the ranks. Experts say the military needs to do a better job of identifying those who wear the uniform for all the wrong reasons, both those who try to join in the future and those who could already be there. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
North Vancouver police are searching for two people suspected of detonating a crude homemade device outside the office of a BC politician.
It could potentially be multiple bear bangers or commercially available fireworks taped together to increase the explosive potential of the item.
These are the two suspects. Police say one of them was disguised in a blonde wig. The explosion damaged the door at Bowen Ma's constituency office. A second explosion damaged a street sign. RCMP say the motive is still unknown. Two student pilots are dead after a mid-air collision in southern Manitoba. The planes crashed during a training exercise. Cameron McIntosh has the latest on what went wrong and what we know about the victims.
Practicing takeoffs and landings along this runway, two small planes collided mid-air, crashing, killing both student pilots. No one else was on board.
We don't understand how they could get so close together.
Adam Penner owns the flight school.
So they would practice takeoffs and landings. They would take off, fly kind of a rectangle pattern, come in, land, roll briefly, and then take off in one motion.
The planes, a 4-seat Cessna 172 like this, and a 2-seat Cessna 152 are single-engine aircraft. Penner says one of the pilots had just started solo flying, the other was getting close to a commercial license. No one else was flying nearby.
There were only two. They were the only ones in the circuit.
They were training at a rural airport just outside of Steinbach, Manitoba. The school is closed, the Transportation Safety Board investigating. That will include looking at the wreckage and conditions. Through the day, there was occasional haze from wildfire smoke, but no visibility warnings. Neighbors say they heard two engines rev and stall.
And got up and looked, and there was a small pillar of black smoke coming up. And then I heard a little later another bang, and then there was an even bigger pop of black smoke.
RCMP haven't released information on the pilots' ages or gender and say so far their investigation is not pointing to evidence of anything criminal.
It will probably wrap up.
Meanwhile, for the school, which trains about 400 students a year, it's the first fatalities in 51 years.
It's tough, difficult. We're devastated.
In Canada, flight schools are regulated and monitored by Transport Canada. Meanwhile, mid-air collisions are rare, making up just 0.04% of all accidents reported in Canadian airspace. Cameron McIntosh, CBC News, Winnipeg.
Hope of finding any more survivors is fading in Texas 5 days after deadly flash flooding. More than 100 people are now confirmed dead. The number of people still missing is even higher, which is why searchers are still combing through the devastation. Katie Nicholson is in Texas tonight. Katie, you're seeing the recovery effort firsthand.
Yeah, we're right here on the banks of the Guadalupe River here in Ingram, Texas, on a cottage property where the owner had to come through and gut everything that was inside. That is a scene that is playing out again and again up and down this river.
So you can see the water line was up about 4 feet here.
This home was an Adam Hughes family for 113 years.
You can see it blew out all of the flooring.
Now it's likely going to be demolished. As he tries to clean up the mess, searchers and helicopters comb the river for the missing.
Debris is so thick around these tree wells that when a cadaver dog hits, they were saying you couldn't even see the axle of an RV that's hidden under the debris.
Further down the river, Henry Daigle picks up what's left of his belongings after the waters ripped through his RV home. Police narrowly got him out.
I said, I just need 5 minutes. He said, you don't have 5 minutes.
When he stepped out of the trailer a minute later, the water was over his knees. His truck bobbed in the waves as he and his dogs drove it away.
Cop saved my life, really. No way I would have made it out of here. I would have been in the drink going downriver. They've been pulling me out today.
More than 100 bodies have been recovered. After an aerial tour, the Texas governor confirmed at least 161 are still missing.
We will not stop until we identify, recover every single body. We'll not stop until every road is rebuilt, every inch of debris is removed.
Searching, a harrowing job.
It's extremely treacherous, time-consuming, it's dirty work, the water's still there. So we're having to go layer by layer, peeling these off to make those recoveries.
At the fire hall, a groundswell of support for those who have to do it. A steady stream of donations, food, water, bug spray.
These are people that I went to high school with. These are people that I teach their children. These are families that we work with on the day-to-day basis, and so we're just trying to do everything we can for them.
And Christine, so many people have come forward today looking to help in some small way. I spoke to a young man who brought his horse here. He wanted to help. He was compelled to be here because his younger sister lost a friend at Camp Mystic, where more than 24 campers lost their lives. There are still 5 campers and 1 counselor unaccounted for.
Katie, it sounds like the conditions are just brutal. How are searchers managing?
I'll zero in on one thing, debris. So just look behind me. There were about 20 50-year-old cypress trees there before this happened. Searchers that have been coming up this river have had to poke through that just to see if anything is beneath.
Some tough days ahead. Thanks for this, Katie. Katie Nicholson tonight in Ingram, Texas. Floodwaters smashed through a bridge linking Nepal to China, killing at least 8 people. Many more are still missing. So far, more than 50 people have been rescued. Officials say over 20 others are still unaccounted for. The Nepalese government says it is investigating the cause of the flooding. Hundreds of firefighters are battling a fast-moving wildfire that has reached the outskirts of Marseille, France. Hundreds of people have reportedly been evacuated from their homes. The city's airport has suspended flights, and there are concerns strong winds in the forecast could push the flames even closer to the city. There is another tariff threat from Donald Trump tonight, another potential blow to the Canadian economy. The U.S. president says he will slap a 50% tariff on copper. As Anis Hadari shows us, it's already causing economic uncertainty.
Keep your head up. In Windsor, Ontario, workers are upgrading a local church with a copper cross. But the company installing this cross is worried now that Donald Trump is threatening a new 50% tariff on copper. It could make their products more expensive for American customers.
If there are tariffs on the finished product of copper, I am concerned that that tariff will affect us producing materials.
They had already pivoted from steel and aluminum after earlier tariffs.
Now that we're working with copper, it seems like we're going to be affected again with yet another material.
In 2023, Canada exported more than $9 billion worth of copper. The United States imported 52% of that. China, 17%.
Today we're doing copper.
Copper, what would that tariff be on? The section tariff?
I believe the tariff on copper, we're going to make it 50%.
We'll have to wait to see the details.
It caught the Canadian industry by surprise.
I think it could be quite harmful and disruptive because it's part of an integrated supply chain, much like the auto sector is.
With sectors like automotive, another one of Trump's tariff targets, his administration says it wants to encourage domestic production. But when it comes to copper, that theory has limits.
But copper is copper. It comes from the ground. And it's either in the ground or it isn't in the ground. You can't just wave your magic wand and produce copper.
But Trump's motivations may lie elsewhere, says this business law expert.
This might be providing the United States, or at least an attempt to provide the United States, more leverage during trade negotiations as the president tries to negotiate all these deals with different countries.
Trump didn't specifically name Canada during his announcement. The Prime Minister's office says it's not commenting unless the tariff becomes official. Anis Haidari, CBC News, Calgary.
For a second straight night, U.S. President Donald Trump met with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to discuss a ceasefire in Gaza. But as you're about to see, the war grinds on. Deaths continue to mount, and the images emerging from the territory can be hard to watch. Here's Tom Perry.
At Nasser Hospital in Han Yunis, no sign of a ceasefire, just the everyday crush of injuries and death. This time, the victims, some very young, of an Israeli strike on a camp where displaced people were sheltering in tents. While I was getting water from a barrel, I was suddenly shaken by an explosion, says Najwa Al-Gabran. My nephews are in intensive care, and I don't know if they're alive or dead. While Palestinians mourn, Israel is grieving the loss of 5 IDF soldiers killed by a roadside bomb in northern Gaza. The Israeli military says 888 troops have now been killed since the war began. But as Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu talks ceasefire in Washington, his defense minister is floating a controversial proposal. Israel Katz reportedly putting forward a plan to move Gaza's entire population, more than 2 million people, to what he calls a humanitarian city at the southern end of the Strip, where they would be screened before entry and then not allowed to leave.
This is a big jail. This is not a humanitarian city. This is like a camp where they concentrate people, and they are not giving them any freedom to choose where to live or how to live.
For Palestinians watching from a distance, disbelief. This will never happen, says Nidal Bilha. We will remain in the Gaza Strip. Even if we die, we will not leave. We reject this as Palestinian people, says Syed Al-Kashawi. This is our ancestral land, and we will remain in it. What many Palestinians and Israelis say they really want is for this war to finally end. And right now, that remains a work in progress. Tom Perry, CBC News, Jerusalem.
U.S. President Donald Trump appears to be stepping up his criticism of Russian President Vladimir Putin.
We get a lot of bullshit thrown at us by Putin, for you want to know the truth. He's very nice all the time, but it turns out to be meaningless.
Those comments come a day after Trump promised to send Ukraine more weapons. Trump says the U.S. will send 10 Patriot missiles to help Ukraine defend itself against Russia. Ukrainian officials say they are grateful, but that number is minuscule. Earlier this month, the Pentagon paused weapons deliveries to Ukraine. London, Ontario is dealing with a deadly outbreak of Legionnaires' disease.
You need to address that quick.
The race to determine why the illness has resurfaced. Scammers are impersonating big banks, costing customers millions.
It was very, 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 very well executed.
How you can protect yourself. And a prom tuxedo with a twist.
Each armor piece is made from duct tape and cardboard.
We're back in 2. Health officials in southwestern Ontario are racing to stop the spread of Legionnaires' disease. So far, 1 person is dead. Dozens more are sick with the respiratory illness. But as Jennifer Lagrassa explains, it's still unclear what's causing the outbreak.
London, Ontario is now grappling with a deadly outbreak of Legionnaires' disease. Officials confirm 1 person has now died.
We are seeing cases in excess more than we would typically expect. We typically expect 1 to 2 a month. In the past week, we've identified over 35 cases.
The outbreak of the respiratory illness is in the city's southeast, the same area where there was another deadly outbreak last summer. But health officials still don't know how people are getting infected. Legionnaires' disease is caused by bacteria that can grow in warm, still water, often in cooling towers, which remove heat from large buildings. When contaminated water vaporizes and people breathe it in, they can get sick. For most, it's a mild illness.
We are talking about the people who have developed a pneumonia and become quite ill, so they have a fever, cough, and have developed shortness of breath.
Symptoms start within 2 to 14 days of infection, but it's not contagious, and if caught early, it is treatable.
Antibiotics used for severe pneumonias in hospital would cover this pathogen.
Those at higher risk of serious illness include people who are older than 40 years old, smoke, have a chronic illness, or a weak immune system.
They've been long-term smokers, they've got damage to their lungs already, and on top of that, now they've got Legionnaires' disease that makes their oxygen levels drop fairly quickly.
Since 2018, Canada has had about 500 to 700 cases each year, though health experts say the illness is likely underreported.
You need to address it quick.
One expert in the water treatment industry says there's calls to better enforce cooling tower inspections.
Doing tests more often, that's what it brings you to be more proactive.
The public health unit in London, Ontario is sending people out to cooling towers of buildings where many of the cases are located, but caution the investigation could take some time. Jennifer Lagrassa, CBC News, Toronto.
An elaborate scam involving fake bank investigators is gaining traction in Canada.
For you to finally have a little bit of a savings account and it just to be gone, you just feel helpless.
Hundreds of victims, millions lost. How you can mitigate the threat. Assessing the failures during the Texas flood.
So all of this land that you see is covered in water.
Andrew Chang on why some warnings were late and others were ineffective. And the rise of AI ads spreading lies and fueling outrage.
Like, how do I get volunteer experience to get volunteer experience?
The National breaks down the stories shaping our world next. A major change at U.S. airports tonight. Travelers will no longer be required to remove their shoes while going through a regular security check. The Homeland Security Secretary announced the change today. The no-shoes rule was first implemented in 2006 after a British man attempted to blow up an American Airlines flight with explosives hidden in his shoe. A warning tonight about a rise in scammers impersonating bank employees. Officials say Canadians have lost millions of dollars this year alone. Sophia Harris has one woman's story and how you can protect yourself.
Hello? Melissa Plett says there was nothing suspect about an apparent call from her bank. The caller sounded professional. The phone's call display showed RBC.
It was very, 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 very well executed.
The caller said someone was trying to steal money from her account. He directed Plett to log into her RBC banking app and follow his instructions to safeguard her cash. After the call ended, Plett discovered almost $15,000 had disappeared from her account. She says RBC refused to reimburse her.
For you to finally have a little bit of a savings account and it just to be gone, it's like, I'm gonna cry now. It's just, you just feel helpless.
Plett is one of many victims of the growing bank investigator scam. So far this year, the Canadian Anti-Fraud Centre heard from 677 victims of the fraud and tallied $11.7 million in losses, close to double the amount in the same period last year. Well, what are you saying? The actual numbers are likely much higher.
Right now, you are connected with the fraud department.
2 weeks ago, this reporter got the call. The scammer knew my full name and bank and used spoofing technology to make the bank's phone number appear on my call display.
I feel this is a scam. I'm a reporter with CBC News. Hello?
If they have personal information, then it makes it believable, right? You know, victims are seeing a number on the call display that they trust.
Even so, sometimes banks hold the victims responsible and refuse refunds.
The thing is, people were tricked.
This consumer advocate says Canada needs to adopt stronger regulations to ensure victims of the fraud get their money back.
They shouldn't be held liable. We have to take into consideration these kind of scams are very elaborate.
Ottawa says it's exploring stronger protections for fraud victims. RBC says it works hard to combat fraud and takes customer complaints seriously.
Okay.
After CBC News reached out to RBC about Plett's case, the real RBC called her and said it's looking into it.
Thank you so much.
If you get a fraud alert call from your bank, experts advise you to hang up and call your bank back to make sure that's really who was calling. Sophia Harris, CBC News, Toronto.
Now it's time to break down the news shaping our world. This angry job seeker has been getting views on TikTok, sometimes with racially charged rants.
Tim Hortons just asked if I speak Punjabi.
But he's not real. He's AI. We tracked down the Canadian company who created him to find out why. But first,
I call it the flash flood capital of the world.
After deadly flash flooding in Texas, questions about why so many people were caught off guard. Andrew Chang, host of About That, breaks down why the warnings may have been too little, too late, as deadly floods barreled through communities and kids' summer camps.
If you were watching from far away, you might wonder if Texans along the Guadalupe River stood any chance at all.
There were campgrounds there, there were homes, there were people that were seemingly caught off guard.
The destruction had already been done before the warnings came out. It was almost every man for himself.
Headlines from the earliest days of deadly flash flooding pointed to an alarming lack of warning. The central question being, how could so many people have been caught so off guard? Was there any heads up at all that a major river was about to burst its banks? The Guadalupe River lies in a part of central and south Texas called Flash Flood Alley. It flows east, ending through San Antonio Bay on the Gulf Coast, but it's where the river starts, in a place called Kerr County, where most of the attention has been focused.
At least 82 people have died and more than 40 remain missing, including children.
River rose more than 20 feet, crashing into homes and swallowing roads, leaving people very little time to escape.
Some 400 first responders are now scouring the swollen Guadalupe River and its banks.
Now, there were warnings ahead of time, at least 3 of which have now been widely reported. So what explains the account from officials who sound like this?
Rest assured, no one knew this kind of flood was coming.
There's no expectation of a water wall of almost 30 feet high.
Let's try to understand what happened and when. It is true that predicting a major weather event with pinpoint accuracy is just really hard to do. And I'll show you what I mean, starting with the day before the flood.
This storm, this rain is expected to be going on until the night and into tomorrow.
That is a signal of localized flash flooding in parts of our area.
For at least several days, most in the San Antonio region would have been well aware that flooding was a possibility, but welcome to Flash Flood Alley. And many forecasts were calling for just a few inches of rain, which is significant, but it's this much.
We had no reason to believe that this was going to be anything like what's happened here. None whatsoever.
It wasn't until late at night, 11:22 p.m., just hours before floodwaters hit, we would see this warning from the U.S. Office of Water Prediction. Rapid runoff is expected. Considerable flash and urban flash flooding is possible. The nocturnal timing will also enhance the hazard potential and impacts, meaning it'll be bad, in part because everyone's asleep. But even if you were awake, look how broad the so-called area of concern is. I mean, just San Antonio to Austin is more than 100 kilometers. This is a big area. Kerr County itself would get its first warning of life-threatening flash flooding at 1:14 in the morning. This would have triggered the emergency alert system and woken people out of bed, assuming you had weather alerts turned on in the first place, and assuming you didn't simply click the warning off and go back to bed, and assuming you had cell service in the first place.
There's a lot of areas, especially when weather comes in, where cellular towers are down or you already have bad service.
Among those communities where cell coverage might have been spotty was a place called Camp Mystic, an all-girls summer camp along the southern fork of the Guadalupe River. In the middle of the night, water rushed through the camp, ripping through cabins, upturning beds, furniture, leaving behind a mess of debris and death.
A summer camp
overrun by floodwaters.
A growing death toll in a search to find missing young girls.
The emergency alert that would have warned people around the communities of Hunt and Kerrville themselves, warning these campers of the wall of water about to hit them, it came too little too late at 5:34 a.m. local time, along with the message, flash flooding is already occurring. And even if that message had arrived in time, which it didn't, most, if not all, campers would not have gotten the message directly on their own phones anyway. Camp Mystic's own rules, we can see here in a letter sent to parents. It makes very clear what is considered an unacceptable electronic device for any camper to bring: cell phones, tablets, or smartwatches of any type. And this is what that water might have looked and felt like, high and strong. This video was posted by the city of Kerrville later that morning. There are entire pieces of trees flowing through this water, and if you look way in the background, many of the trees that are still upright are mostly submerged. And just to show you another vantage point, I've cross-referenced the exact point where that video was shot with this Google Street View. It's the Sidney Baker Bridge in Kerrville, which is just about 30 kilometers up the road from Camp Mystic. Except here, if I swing around, this is what the river normally looks like. And here's the river when it's 20 to 30 feet higher. You see how the water line goes right up to where I'm dragging my cursor, and this little building here with the triangular roof. If I tap back to the street view, that little building with the triangular roof, that's here. So all of this land that you see is covered in water. That's what getting months of rain in just a few hours looks like.
That river rose 26 feet in 45 minutes.
No warnings at all. They came hours later, which was the most devastating part.
This was the biggest, and I don't know why we don't have an early warning system on this river.
It is absolutely true that a great number of people in the direct path of the floodwaters would have had no warning, because instead of sirens, they had text alerts. Maybe they went completely unseen.
Most people at 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. are asleep.
Or maybe those texts were simply dismissed.
The concern is flash flood watches are issued so often, people may tune them out.
I'm on the record for saying the National Weather Service overall in the United States issues too many warnings.
Because remember, Flash Flood Alley. Flash floods do happen in this part of Texas all the time. Sometimes they are deadly. The state has already seen several dangerous flooding events this year, which, if you live in that region, might either make you hyper-aware or desensitized. Because flash flooding events across the US were at an all-time high last year, and most of them are nothing like what just happened. Experts say the Guadalupe River flood was a 1 in 100-year event, and that it's simply not possible to predict well in advance that a cluster of thunderstorms dumping months' worth of rain would stall over a specific spot.
A lot of our operations plans, especially with these camps, that is the plan, is sometimes shelter in place, get them to those known high grounds, and then wait for rescue. Again, when this came in, people were sleeping. Even if you were able to try to get notification, that evacuation period is a very delicate balance. Disasters in Texas everywhere. It's very tough to make those calls because what we also don't want to do is cry wolf.
But this is where we introduce a very political dimension to this story, because it isn't just the question, did officials take what warning signs they had seriously enough? It's also, did they adequately prepare, knowing how prone the area is to flash flooding in the first place? For years, Kerr County officials have debated installing some kind of flood warning system, but that never came to be. Too expensive. And then there's the Trump factor.
One of the things that's predictable is that you see some people engaging in, I think, partisan games and trying to blame their political opponents for a natural disaster.
There is an open question right now about whether Trump's budget cuts to the government agency that operates the National Weather Service is in some way to blame here. That if hundreds of employees hadn't have been laid off, if observation and research labs hadn't have been stripped down or closed altogether, maybe there would have been more lead time for people to escape the devastation. To that, there is no clear conclusion right now. No established line of causation by any expert that I've heard between cuts and whether a destructive flood on this scale could have been predicted and avoided. And anyone who definitively says otherwise, it's just too early to say.
These offices were well staffed. In fact, one of the offices was actually overstaffed. They had more people than they need. So any claim to the contrary is completely false.
But there are some vacancies at these offices, including the very critical coordinator on these type of catastrophe that links the information coming from the meteorologists to the local officials on the ground.
But the outcome is tragic either way. More than 100 people are dead, and more beyond that still missing. City and county officials have been clear that is their focus right now. The political postmortem comes later.
As Andrew mentioned, there's also a political dimension to this disaster. In the spring, Texas lawmakers voted against a bill that was intended to improve the state's disaster response, including better alert systems. AI-generated influencers are gaining traction on social media.
This certainly does take marketing to a whole new level, but not in a good way.
The potential harm from the growing trend. A realistic AI marketing avatar spouting racially charged rhetoric.
So this certainly does take marketing to a whole new level, but not in a good way.
So what is the intent of this campaign? And will we see more like this? Ashley Fraser of CBC's Visual Investigations Unit traces this campaign back to a Canadian company. Just a warning, some of the messages may be disturbing.
This is Josh.
Tim Hortons just asked if I speak Punjabi. I'm whiter than their Boston cream.
He's not a real person. He's AI.
I just applied to Staples for the 4th time.
Looking into who's behind these videos, we discover that Josh is not just a realistic avatar going on a job hunt.
Like, how do I get volunteer experience to get volunteer experience?
Josh was created by an online hiring and recruiting platform.
I'll be honest, we did that for fun. You know, some of the videos went extremely viral.
So this certainly does take marketing to a whole new level, but not in a good way.
500,000 unemployed.
Working with the CBC's Visual Investigations team, we take a deep dive into this Fake-fluencer account. It features a few characters, most prominently Josh. They stand out to us because on the surface, many of these videos are convincing, and they're not labeled as being AI generated on TikTok. Some are so convincing that viewers comment as if Josh is a real person, arguing with him and giving him advice on his job hunt. Other comments call the videos racist, which Josh says isn't his intention.
For a company to use this kind of campaign tonality in order to attract consumers to its services is highly, highly problematic and unlike anything that I've ever seen.
I can't believe I lost the job to someone who barely speaks English. Apparently, I'm not qualified to be a junior data analyst.
Manager said they're fully staffed. The thing is, these weren't obvious advertisements. The brand name Nexa and logo pops up in the videos and comments again and again and again. Then we notice the account's first follower is this person. And on the company's website, we see he's the co-founder and CTO. Nexa's CEO is Divi Nayar. We asked him about the account. Unemployed flex?
Yeah, so that was actually a persona. We have our own TikTok account for Nexa, but this one was more so, let's go into the job seeker's mind.
He also tells me about his company, which uses AI to match job seekers with open positions. Some of the comments on your videos say they're racially charged. Was that a concern for you?
Like, I can't stop people from saying that, but I tried to make videos kind of countering that. So I wanted to educate people using, satire and comedies. There's obviously all these fun things going around, how memes are taking over the job market, and we wanted to have fun with it.
But when we show experts,
this type of content is typically associated with far right groups. For this type of narrative and language to be used, or storytelling and sentiment to be used by a commercial player is problematic on a number of different levels.
They're only 8 seconds long, they're quick to watch, very convincing because they're AI, but what it doesn't label, it doesn't say it's AI, which is deceiving.
But Nayar disagrees.
Usually it's auto-tagged, and usually I'm very upfront about it. When it comes to disclosing it, Of course, we are.
But when we reach out to TikTok about the account Unemployed Flex, they tell us the videos were not properly labeled as AI. This is what it's supposed to look like. Nex's videos do have a small VO watermark. That's Google's AI video generator. But TikTok says it didn't meet their policy. The account was then taken down. We reached out to Nayar, and he tells us he's appealed the removal. Now, there are many more AI-generated videos out there that are far more racially charged, which this company has played off of. But, you know, they're not labeled by TikTok, and it can be really confusing for the audience, especially as AI generators become so much more sophisticated.
Yeah, incredibly tricky. So are we going to see more fake-fluencers?
Yeah, I mean, TikTok and Meta, they have their own AI video generators, and they're really encouraging companies to use these AI generators to promote their products. And so we could see more, but all the experts I spoke to said, you know, we need to make sure that AI generator brand is on those videos, because otherwise people are going to get emotionally heated about these topics.
All right, Ashley, thank you.
Thank you.
Finland is a strong ally of Ukraine, one of NATO's newest members. They've offered billions in the fight against Russia. In a Canadian exclusive, Briar Stewart sat down with President Alexander Stubb to talk about war, sovereignty, and his close connection with Donald Trump.
We're in Helsinki, Finland, a country that's a world leader in building icebreakers and is partnering with Canada and the US to produce more of them. Like Canada, Finland is an Arctic nation trying to bolster security in the remote yet strategically important north. And it's also one of NATO's newest members, sharing a more than 1,300-kilometer long border with Russia.
Hi, Briar Stewart.
Alex. Nice to meet you. We sat down with Finnish President Alexander Stubb to talk security, sovereignty, and to get his thoughts on U.S. President Donald Trump's approach to foreign policy. Stubb is a vocal advocate for Ukraine, and he's forged ties with Trump, both on and off the golf course.
In diplomacy, you never want to inflate your relationship. For me, diplomacy is about two things. It's state-to-state relations. They are about, you know, values and historical alliances and culture, etc., etc. But the other relationship that you have in diplomacy is personal. And the reality is that the United States has elected its 47th president in the form of Donald Trump, whose foreign policy is quite transactional. And then you have to deal with that. Then you have to think, okay, you know, how do I influence? How do I have an impact? What do I do?
And I had read that after President Trump met with Volodymyr Zelensky at the Vatican earlier this spring, you had said that you were more optimistic about the potential for ceasefire negotiations. Yeah. I'm wondering how you feel now.
Well, it goes in waves, you know. It's almost like one week I'm optimistic, another week I'm pessimistic. Right now, I'm quite pessimistic that we'll reach a ceasefire before the end of the summer. You know, there doesn't seem to be a momentum.
But it really does seem that, you know, you have Russia ramping up attacks on cities, more civilians being killed, highest number of drones being launched. Wow. They're launching a summer offensive. And Putin is not at all interested in a ceasefire, let alone a peace deal. So where does this go?
Well, I mean, again, first of all, I think let's go back to basics. Russia is the aggressor. I mean, they had absolutely no reason to attack Ukraine. Number one, you cannot trust Putin. And number two, the only thing that Putin understands is the language of power.
You can catch Briar's full interview tomorrow right here on The National. Next, a teenager from Ohio gets creative for a shot at a scholarship.
All the entrants must make a either tuxedo or a dress out of duct tape.
His standout suit of armor in our moment. That's Delano Young, an Ohio high school graduate, pictured here wearing a homemade suit of armor constructed primarily with duct tape. He created that costume as part of a scholarship contest centered around prom outfits. Tonight, his dedication to the craft makes our moment.
So this competition, it's been going on for 25 years now. All the entrants must make a either tuxedo or a dress out of duct tape for the duct tape prom contest. Me and my brothers have been for, well over a decade now, been making weapons using duct tape and other materials and then hitting each other with them. So my tux is kind of an affirmation to my younger self. Each armor piece is made from duct tape and cardboard and hot glue. So my process was I would take the pieces of cardboard, cut them into the correct shape, and have to fold them and bend them into like curves. So the two grand prize winners, the winning tux with the most votes and the winning dress, will both receive a $15,000 scholarship. All the crafting, all their creativity, all the love I've poured into duct tape throughout the years would be united by winning this scholarship.
That looks great. In case you're wondering, he did not wear his suit of armor to the prom. It wasn't ready yet. He also said he didn't have the confidence, but I kind of doubt that. He is one of the finalists, and the winner of that scholarship will be announced next week. Best of luck. From all of us here at The National, thank you for being with us. You can catch us anywhere, anytime on the free CBC News app and subscribe to The National's YouTube channel. I'm Christine Birak. Take care.